There's this other sort of argument among certain groups of people which says, well, we are meant to eat meat, like look at our teeth, look at this, look at that. And actually that is not true, when you look at our closest ancestors, they're the chimpanzees and the monkeys and the gorillas, right? And they're not meat eaters. We share about 99% of our DNA with them. Our gut is long and has, many, many feet of small bowel and large bowel. That's a typical herbivore gut, because when you eat whole foods and plants, it takes a while for it to be metabolized and chewed and get to where it needs to get. So even from that argument perspective, evolutionally speaking, we are meant to be a whole food plant-based eating species. We're not meant to be carnivores. The poor lions and tigers don't have a choice. They're carnivores. They would die if they ate grass. So we are lucky that we have the option of, eating either or. And I think as intelligent spiritual beings, we need to think about it for ourselves. What is the right way here? And yes, it is for our health. Yes, it is for our world. Yes, it is for our children. But ultimately, I think it's also about your own sort of self, gratification. What makes me feel good? And I will tell you, even though I didn't necessarily do it for ethical reasons, this is a beautiful side effect saying some chicken didn't die for me today. There's just that really nice feeling that comes up that some poor animal did not have to sacrifice his life for me. And I don't miss eating meat. That's the beauty with this. I don't miss that I have to have a separate knife and a cutting board, and then you have to scrub everything so you don't get salmonella poisoning. It's so pure what we eat, and it has the spirit of Mother Nature in there. And I think this was meant to be. This is how we were meant to live on this earth in harmony and peace.
I believe that.
Yeah. Coming from a medical doctor perspective, even if you're just focusing on health, I think if you're doing it people go to this way for many reasons. They've had maybe a loved one die, or maybe they themselves are having some health issues. Certainly there are people who go into it for ethical reasons, environmental reasons like we touched upon, or spiritual reasons, like you talked about. I like to keep my emphasis on the fact of health, because people associate doctor, health, disease. And, I don't want people to kind of start feeling like, they're, vegan in disguise and they're trying to push their agenda. That's why I kept emphasizing evidence-based. There is enough evidence about this. An organization like Kaiser would not back up something that did not have evidence behind it. It's not that they're forcing everybody to, adopt this diet. What they're saying is we have looked at the data and we believe that the data supports that this is the optimal diet regardless of what your health condition is. So I think, bringing it back to that focus is that it is not hard to do. It's like everything else in life. If you set your mind to it, if you have the right reason to do it, it becomes the easiest thing to do. One of the challenges I think we face as a society is, how do you make healthy eating the easy way to eat, right? When you see, it's easy to take your 5 children or 4 children, you have 2 jobs, you don't have time to cook, run them through the drive-in through McDonald's, and you've spent, maybe $20, $30, and you've bought your family a dinner. And unfortunately, the way pricing is set up right now, it is more expensive to get a salad than a burger. And so as a society, I think that's another place that we should be trying to talk to our politicians or, people who make these decisions, the USDA, write letters, and tell them, we demand that healthy food be available at a cheaper price.
Yes.
Isn't, it's easy for people who are well off to say, oh yeah, we can do this. But So that is another myth that comes up, that people say, oh, that's nice for you to say, to eat like this, but it is expensive. To some extent, they're true, but on the other hand, very highly motivated patients still can eat a whole food plant-based diet on a budget, because what you're doing, you're shifting your money from buying your steaks and your fish and your dairy, milk, and you're using it to buy green leafy vegetables and beans and whatnot. Like I said, if you go to the whole food, the bulk food section, you can buy beans for quite cheap, and rice, and you can make that the basis of your plate, and then the fresh produce can be what you're putting on the top. I do understand that EBT and SNAP is being accepted in a lot of farmers markets now. So that's a nice way for people who can't afford to eat, go to Whole Foods or,
Right.
some fancy place. So if the motivation is there and the desire is there to feed yourself and your children and your family good, wholesome, healthful food, you will make it happen. You will figure out a way to get there.
I totally agree with you. I wish someday someone will be strong enough, like Dr. Anish, push through the system, cut our path,
Yes.
and even create a plant-based health food restaurant as fast and healthy, but as efficient like McDonald's, as cheap like McDonald's. People
Yes.
could drive through, get a very inexpensive plant-based wholesome
Absolutely.
meal,
Absolutely.
without having the exhaustion individually.
Right.
Has to go buy, cook, and eat and clean.
Exactly.
So I think this country is wealthy. It has a lot of resources,
Yes.
a lot of smart, intelligent people.
Absolutely.
And in anywhere in the world, this country have the resources.
Yes.
Could make this idea to be possible. If it's not for spiritual reason, maybe at least for your family and for your next generation,
Yes.
and for the public health.
Absolutely.
And I think people like yourself, if we could get more people like yourself that are passionate, that has the authority, has the professional consciousness, has the morality of that passion for the public health, I think this country could make a good turn, right?
I absolutely 100% agree.
As a matter of fact, I know that in China, the Buddhist Chinese Society, they actually has they are restaurant. They will open the restaurant and they offer free vegan food. Where whoever rich or poor, they could just walk in
That's
at a free
amazing.
meal
That's
and
fantastic.
donate a lot of their money. They even sell the property. They want to support good causes like that. And I think this country could do something even better.
Yeah. Change is definitely coming. These conferences are becoming more popular. That particular conference I mentioned, when they started about 5 years ago, there were only like 200 people. Then there was 1,000, and I think last year was 12 or 1,500. And they were actually joking that they might have to do it like in an arena, like a football stadium the next time. So it's really gratifying to see that the movement is spreading, the word is out there. Patients are demanding it. Patients are going to their doctors and saying, I don't want another prescription for my cholesterol or my diabetes or whatever.
They are smart.
They are, and they're saying, tell me about this way of eating. What do you know? And so it is forcing doctors and nurses to go back and get education, right? So they can. It's really interesting how the whole. It's like a groundswell. You know,
Yes.
it's a movement that's starting from ground up. When I was on Facebook, I just deleted my account, but I saw so many plant-based support groups and patients come together and they're exchanging recipes and they're posting pictures of themselves of before and after and describing their own experiences, and the scientific journals now starting to look into some of the research. Unfortunately, research in nutritional studies is hard to come by as large as trials with drugs, because the drug companies sponsor the trials with the drugs. There is no broccoli foundation, right, to support a study that we could do on plant-based eating versus maybe a different kind of diet. So the world is definitely changing. I mean, even in the time that I've been involved in this movement, I've seen like an uprise of interest. So it's taking time, it's slow, but you don't have to wait. You don't have to wait for some big study to come out because it might be too late for you, right? So I tell people, do the research, watch some documentaries, read some books. There's some great resources. There's some wonderful YouTube videos because for me it's like short and sweet. The Hawaiian Vegetarian Society hosts a lot of the speakers we talked about. So that's they're on YouTube. They're free, and you can just watch them, and you'll get a lot of information about where do I get my protein, and what about my calcium, and will I get enough iron, and all those kind of questions that people have. You can educate yourself. Yeah.
Isn't also there's a nationwide nationwide vegetarian society?
I believe there is. I'm not very familiar with that one. I know that each state seems to have one. So Washington State has a vegetarian society. Hawaii does. Certainly there are veg fests that happen all over the country all the time, and there are speakers at those veg fests. So lots and lots of resources out there.
Except on this island, we don't have one yet. Right?
We might have to work on it.
Good idea. Good idea. I think I would love to.
Yeah.
Let's not forget about the next project.
Yes.
Make that as our next project.
Yes, we will. Yes.
Well, I think the next thing is it'll be sure interesting to be able to get some good recipe from you about some delicious food. You talk about some taco.
Yes.
Vegan taco.
Yes. So there's a really good recipe where you take cauliflower and you kind of put it in your food processor and get it kind of chopped up, not very fine but not very coarse either, kind of like minced beef texture. And then you do the same with some walnuts. So you take a food processor, do your cauliflower, put it in a bowl, chop up your walnuts the same way, put it in the bowl, add some taco seasoning and whatever other seasonings you might want to do, and then you kind of mix it up really well, spread it out on a tray, and then you pop it in the oven 350, 370 degrees, and watch it, and it'll actually turn a little crispy and brown. And you can use that as a substitute for beef or ground meat in your tacos, and it's absolutely delicious. You put all the other toppings on it like you would your lettuce, your tomatoes. I wouldn't do the sour cream because that's dairy again, but you can do guacamole, you can do salsa, right? So you can pretty much take almost any recipe that your heart desires. You can make vegan pizza. I mean, you can make great.
How about vegan chicken? How do you know how to make vegan chicken? How can we make vegan chicken?
I do know that there are a lot of meat substitutes like vegan chicken, vegan, steak, vegan, and I think those are commercially available. Again, as a proponent of pure whole food plant-based, I would keep those to a minimum. I think it's called Field Roast, and they make these sausages and all kinds of meat substitutes that taste very much like the original, but they have fillers and they have some oil in them. So they're good transition foods. But if you're really wanting to do this for your health, then you might want to try to keep that to a minimum. There is one for, I think, buffalo wings that uses cauliflower, and basically they take chunks of cauliflower and then they dip it in the like your buffalo wing sauce and your bread, your breadcrumbs or whatever, and then they deep fry it, which I wouldn't recommend from a health standpoint. But one of the things my husband and I bought was an air fryer, and it works really well. And so you could bake, and you could get them at least Walmart, Costco, they sell them. And basically you can you can make French fries, but not without needing to deep fry them in oil. So you julienne your fries and then you just pop it in there, and you might want to do a little spray of oil, but it's not necessary. And they come out crispy and they're really good. So
Air fryer pan.
yeah, so very
I'ma go
minimal
look for
use
it.
of oil. Yeah.
Wow.
Or little to no oil.
I see.
And you can do a lot of your deep fried foods in that.
So you could create your own chicken using cauliflower, a chunk of cauliflower.
Yeah, I've seen recipes for that. Yep.
Wow, that's great. I understand some other variety.
Yes,
Great.
yes.
Well, it's absolutely certainly very joyful and happy, and it's a great news to talk to you. I hope our audience also could capture that joy and that good hope coming. But it takes everybody has to have the courage and want to take that responsibility into their own hand.
I think it's about empowering patients. You know, this is what I tell people. I think what's happened is people have, not everybody, but a lot of people have sort of given away their power, like you said, you know, to the pharmaceutical company or to their doctors, or, you know, and it's time for you to take your own life back in charge, you know, and it's wonderful when you can do that and you can feel empowered and you feel like you're in charge of your own health. There is nothing better than that feeling.
Right.
And so this is an easy way to do it.
Well, isn't it so nice to hear from a doctor, a healthcare professional, the truth that most other people doesn't want to tell you. Not everybody won't tell you this truth. But we believe the general public is entitled to have a right. And we need to respect they have that right to know that truth, the truth that not everybody like to talk about. And the truth could hurt to hear the truth. But after you get over it and accept it, the truth would set you free. So I hope our audience will enjoy as much as I do for this interview, for all the knowledge that you share.
Thank you.
And so genuinely,
thank you.
all that passion you have from you.
Thank you.
We love you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I really enjoyed it too.
May a lot more come to you, whatever's your path.
Thank you, Shanti. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you again for viewing our shows. Mahalo.